Welcome to the Lights Out Podcast. This is Chris Lights Out Lytle, and this is our journey to document the history of mixed martial arts. I've brought with me my friend, the MMA detective Mike Davis, and together we will preserve the history and hear some great stories from the world in the era of the no-holds-barred. Thank you and enjoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lights Out Podcast. This is one of my favorite types of episodes. Whenever we get somebody from the administrative side, especially on during the NHB era, the little gems and stories that you pull are things that are oftentimes forgotten and pretty shocking as compared to what's taking place today. Our special guest today, a man that started the WVC, fought for many kickboxing world championships, and a person that defined himself and not only as a referee but the owner of the IVC, Sergio Batarelli. How are you, sir?
Hello, Mike. It's a pleasure, a great pleasure to be here talking to you.
So you're living in Florida now?
Yeah, Fort Lauderdale.
How long have you been living there?
7 months.
Okay. All right. So how's the adjustment with the language been going? That good? Yeah? Okay. Yeah. So Sergio, let's start from the beginning. Your kickboxing, where does your involvement start, and when do you become special?
It's special. It's nice of you. I was a kickboxing fighter. I am a kung fu master. I am a former boxing Brazilian champion. And I had my gym. One day I got a call from Frederico Lapenda, the creator of WVC, the World Vale Tudo Championship. And he introduced himself to me. He said, I'm represent Marco Ruas, and I'm creating this show, and I want you to be the referee. And it got me like a surprise. I say, okay, I like challenge. And he said to me, my first show will be in Tokyo, Japan. And then I was very happy because I never been in Japan. So that's how it started. I went to Japan and we started there with the fight with Igor Volbichanchi, Marco Ruas, and other guys.
So you didn't have any prior mixed martial arts involvement prior to this phone call with Frederico?
I had the involvement as a fighter when I fought Rei Zulu back then when Marco Ruas fought on the same. My fight was the main event. Marco Ruas fought, Eugenio Tadeu fought. Was on a show that was Luta Livre, Muay Thai against Jiu Jitsu.
So November 30th, 1984, Jiu Jitsu versus martial arts at the Cardoso Gymnasium. That's the event we're talking about, correct?
Maracanãzinho event. The name of the arena is Maracanãzinho. Maracanã.
Okay. So you fought Zulu in the main event.
Yeah.
And how does that fight come about?
No, the funny thing was, as I told you, I had a gym in São Paulo, Brazil. And I got a call from one guy from Rio. He has a Kung Fu gym in Rio. His name is Alex. And he called me and said, hey, Sergio, you represent Kung Fu. We want you to fight against Zulu. And I say, fight what? Oh, no. Vale Tudo. That it means anything goes, no rules. I said, anything goes? He said, yes. I said, okay, let's do it. I never knew about Vale Tudo. I never knew how to do the ground game, jiu-jitsu, luta livre, nothing. And I said, okay, I'm in. Let's do it. And I went to Rio. And it was a very, very bad experience. But because that, I became a kickboxing world champion. If it didn't happen, I wouldn't be a world champion, and I get involved with all those roots of the modern MMA.
Okay. So you talk about roots of modern MMA. Ignacio Aragon, Pinduka, Marcelo Behring, Flavio Molina, And
That's
Pinduka fought, Pinduka fought Marco Ruas, Bruce Lucio, Henan Pitangwe versus Eugenio Tadao. That's the card.
Renan Pitangui.
So there's a lot of Carlson Gracie fighters on the card.
Yeah.
A couple luta livre and a couple mixed people such as yourself.
Yeah.
Why is there nobody with the last name Gracie on the card?
Because the Gracie was the promoter. Robson Gracie was the promoter. It's a funny story if you want to hear.
Man, that's why we're here.
No, bad experience. I never get paid. They gave me a bad check.
Robson Gracie didn't pay you. Okay, so this is important because we've got a lot of these. So Robson Gracie, not such a good promoter, but I mean, Holes at the time and Rickson were kind of at the forefront of the Gracies, and neither of those two were on it.
Let me explain the idea of the Robson and his partner. They need someone to fight Zulu. Nobody wants to fight Zulu, the Rei Zulu, King Zulu. And I said, okay, I fight. I never refuse some challenge, you know what I mean? And the idea is, if I won the fight, I would fight Rickson Gracie. So when I arrived in Rio, Robson came to me. We say Robson in Brazil, not Robson. In Brazil, in Portuguese, we say Robson. Robson came to me and said, hey, Sergio, we need to say that you are Italian. You just came from Italian. You are the Rocky Batarelli, not Sergio Batarelli, Rocky Batarelli. I said, okay, you're going to pay me, right? Oh, yeah. So, say whatever you want to say. And now he set up a series of interviews, TV. It was big in Rio, big. The biggest TV channel, Rede Globo, was the Global Network, was advertising the fight, and everybody's talking about. So I have a big bird. If you search on internet, I think you did. You see, I fought with a big bird, and I was giving a demonstration, breaking ice bars, because I'm still today, I hold the world record of breaking ice bar. And then somebody bring me the newspaper, and I saw in Rickson Gracie is talking a lot of shit about me, and I say, what the fuck this guy's talking about? I don't know him. Because I didn't know who is Rickson, who is Grace's family. I didn't know, and I didn't care. And then they start explaining me who he is and this and that. And Rickson said, oh, at the newspaper, I have this newspaper in my files. So now I will beat this Italian guy, and I use him to make bolognese or something like that. And then I asked to the guy, say, hey, go to the supermarket and bought some spaghetti, big spaghetti. And he brought me, and in front of TV National, the biggest TV channel in Brazil, I grabbed the spaghetti. I broke the spaghetti and throw against the cameraman, and I say, okay, Rickson, motherfucker, I will make the sauce with your fucking blood. So the people love it, because I take it personal. And Robson wanted to do the promotion. He said, wait, Sergio, you are perfect. I said, perfect. No, what this fucking guy is talking about? Then, after everything, I realized that it was all bullshit. So then I went to the fight. I never did a no holds bar fight, a Vale Tudo fight. So if you see, I think you saw the fight on YouTube.
Of course.
I give the kick. I almost punch his uppercut, but he took me down. And when he comes up to me, I punch him from the bottom. He said, "No," Zulu said to me, "No, this is not for real. No, no, no." I said, "What?" And then I could stand up again, and I kick again, and he hold my leg, and he's very strong, man. He's the most strong guy that I fought in all my life. Because I have a strong kick. Believe me, I have a fucking strong leg kick. And looks like nothing. And at that time, I was like 220, something like that, 230. He just grabbed me and threw me like a pillow. So when he gave me a guillotine, I have no idea. Instead of a hold or put a leg, then I went to learn jiu-jitsu. But at that time, I know nothing. So I start punching his groins.
Good move.
For real. No cup, nothing. I remember now. I gave 3 punches. Then I think, you grab his balls and I squeeze. But I have no time to do it because I fell asleep. Then I remember. Yeah, it's funny. Then I remember I have my biography just was finished. The book will be in the stores by the end of this month, June, and I start telling this thing that I will say to you now. I started hearing a big noise, boom, boom. After that, I realized that was the crowd yelling, and my heart started beating again. That's what so crazy. When I open my eyes, I realized that I lost the fight. So I stand up, I get crazy. They bring with a trophy to me. I say, I don't want to do it. I want to fight again. And we start trying to set up a rematch. And when I was at my dressing room, taking a shower, Sergio Gracie come to the dressing room and shake my hand and say, "Man, you are the real thing. You went to sleep, but you didn't tap. You are a real warrior. You get all my respect." I remember it like yesterday. And then I became a friend of the Grace family. Like Renzo is a good friend of mine, and all the cousins and this and that. That is my story. Then Zulu never wanted to give me a rematch, never. I start training jiu-jitsu with Flavio Behring, Marcelo's Behring father.
Yeah.
I lived in São Paulo. I travel every weekend to Rio to learn. At that time, we train in a club named Cabo Canaveral, Barra da Tijuca. Fabio Gurgel, that fought the Smash Machine,
yeah.
He was blue belt. Can you imagine that? He was blue belt at that time. And
so, go ahead.
No, just to finish. And I said to Flavio, I say, "Flavio, I don't want to be a jiu-jitsu fighter. I just don't want to know how to avoid to go down. And if I go down, how can I get stand up again?" And then he made a line with all those students and put me down. And I became then very, very close friend of Marcelo Behring. That a few months later, I brought him to São Paulo to teach in the same gym I was teaching kickboxing. He was teaching jiu-jitsu. The name of the gym is Companhia Atlética. That is the story. Then he didn't want to fight. I get a national free TV to broadcast the fight. He said no. The guy from TV say, "Hey, Batarelli." At that time, they start calling me Batarelli. "Hey, Batarelli, why don't you focus on your kickboxing career? We put your fights on TV live all over Brazil." I said, "Okay." Then I start training, doing fights, and I became a world champion. That's the story.
Yeah. That's wild. So your relationship with the Gracie family began that day.
Yeah.
And what was your experience like with Carlson?
Carlson was a very good friend and close friend of me because with the IVC, all the IVC champions comes to Japan or at least to UFC, but I prefer at that time Japan to Pride because the money was better. And Carlson was going with his fighter. And I started representing some of his fighters, like Walid Ismail, like Carlos Barreto. So we, in Japan, we walked together. Hey, let's go for a ride. And then we start walking and hiking and talking. I know a lot of stories, but I will not tell you.
Yeah, fair enough.
We will
Fair
put
enough.
a lot of people in trouble. But I heard a lot of things of all the family. But Carlson, I loved him. He's a great man. It was a great honor to be his friend.
So you're in Fort Lauderdale, and what are you up to now? Is there? You said you have a book coming out.
Yeah. Oh, I'm restarting my life at 64. People say that I'm crazy. No, I'm not crazy. I'm a Jewish. I don't know if you know that. I'm a Jewish. I'm an observant Jewish. At that time, no, but from 20 years to now, I'm observant Jewish. And I was as a vacation here in Fort Lauderdale last July 23rd. And I went to my synagogue, my shul here, and I asked to the rabbi, I want to open a leather. Who is Jewish will know what I'm talking about. The Rebbe leather. And I asked some questions because I had a boxer fighter that fought for the world title in Germany. I used to represent the top ranking in Brazil, and he lost and some problems. And I said, what's going on? And the letter came with the answer in a book, an Yiddish book from the Rebbe, saying that my place is Fort Lauderdale. Can you believe it? He said, your place is here. You must move to here. 2 months later, I'm here. I come back to Brazil, get my work visa, get my wife, get my son, and move to here. That's I'm here. That is why I moved to Fort Lauderdale.
Good for you. Good for
now
you.
I'm teaching. I give personal kickboxing classes. I go to the people's house. Most of my students are Orthodox Jews, but I teach anyone, anywhere. If the guy want to learn in the park, we train the park. Can be woman, old guy, young guy, doesn't matter. But my dream is bring IVC to America. I'm working on that.
I saw that there was an announcement stating that you're pushing for it. 1 30-minute round, headbutts with bare knuckle.
The same rules that they used before. Because if you have a bare knuckle fights here, you have a Masvidal event. Oh, why not?
Do you think that it would be difficult to fill that card with talent? The fighters are much different today than they were when you were doing.
Yeah, but let me put this way. I was thinking like that until a friend of mine, Carlos Andreoli, he convinced me to do it. He's involved with this. And he said, hey, Sergio, let's do the return of IVC. And I say, you think, let's do it. I can get the sponsorship and this and that. I said, okay, do it. And then when put just on Instagram, you have no idea the number of fighters all over the world. And we did the announcement only in Portuguese, not in English. You are the first guy I'm talking in English. So everywhere want to fight. And then I say, whoa, that's the. And then I gave the interview for the MMA Fighting, I think, is the website in English. I think you read.
Yes, of course.
And then I sent it to some friends that work in entertainment business. And they said to me, Sergio, this is huge. Let's bring it to America. And then I'm getting involved with some big guys. Maybe something can come up. Even the idea of bringing to Saudi Arabia. I get something. Yeah, it's funny, right? I get some indications that maybe we can have a talk. That's it.
You'd be smart. I think combat sports right now, with everything that's going on in the world, combat sports is starting to kind of push limits, and they're being accepted again.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
That's why I get excited to do the return. Then we are working on it.
You've tried a few times in the past, though.
Yeah, but like you said, the commission and everybody, I know, put the rules. When I did one in Brazil, but with MMA rules, unified, no, I didn't like it. I said, no, this is not my thing. I don't want
it. See, one of my questions is, in 1997, the UFC was moving towards getting a rule set, towards becoming established, to where you push just as hard the other way.
Yeah, because I used to say, this is two things. MMA is one sport. Vale Tudo is another sport. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. It's like soccer, and I don't know how to call it in English. We call in Brazil futsal. That is playing in a closet with 5 and 5 people, or like
with the smaller soccer. Yeah. Like the 3-on-3 basketball. Yeah,
or like volleyball and basketball. It's different sports. So Vale Tudo to me is one sport. MMA is another sport.
Okay.
Like karate is one sport. Kickboxing, another sport.
Like Jiu Jitsu, what it was originally, is not Jiu Jitsu that you see in tournaments. For sure, no.
Exactly. The evolution.
But combat Jiu Jitsu has brought it back to the beginning.
Yeah.
With the slaps. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a fan. No, the IVCs were some of my favorite events, like ever. So you actually fought Duke Roufus as well.
Yeah, in Brazil, I beat him.
What was your experience like fighting Duke?
The funny thing was, at that time, I think the fight is on my channel in YouTube. I think I was 36 and he was 21, 20, something like that. He's very young. Was my first title defense, first. The guy, Terry Nine from Pennsylvania, the president of FFKA, said, no, he's this guy. I said, yeah, okay. But I have a strong mind and my game is different. So I beat him. He called, oh, you gave me a low blow. There is no low blow. I punched him in the belly that I think hit his bladder. And he felt a lot of pain, and I start punching, and the referee stopped the fight. That's it. Look at and he said, no, he's a foul. He came to me and said, no, if you want to fight again, we fight again. You never want to fight again. That's it. But he's
go ahead.
No. He's a nice, as a person, I like him so much. He's a nice guy. But I beat him.
So we put questions out to our audience. Captain Kaboom from mixedmartialarts.com, the underground forum. He wants to know about your fight with Mike Labree, who's a legendary tough man out of Rockford, Illinois.
Yeah, same thing. Terry and I said, no, this is a good guy. He's a world champion too. Let's do it. So, okay, bring him. And he didn't expect what he was getting. Because I have to say about me, don't get me wrong, but I'm very good with my hands. But I can kick. And I'm very good. And if you are a very good kicker, I can short the distance and punch you and don't let you kick me, like I did with Duke Roufus. And I did the same with Labree. There is one thing in my Instagram, you have just highlights that I punch him here. He fell down and I hold him and I go the other side. And then I punch him, I open here. He said, no, it's a headbutt. That never be. You look the fight, the entire fight in YouTube, because there is an entire fight, there is no headbutt. Everybody was complaining when they lost to me because, oh, I lost to this no one in Brazil. Then I became someone, but at that time I was no one.
And Labree known for his legendary toughness as well.
I know. He was, I think, my toughest opponent because he come, but I used to love, now I'm old. When the guy come to me, the best thing for me, and when the guy comes to me, I don't like to go for it. I like the guy come, then I can work better. That was my strategy.
So you and Paulo Zarello, who was 37-1, you guys, Paulo, you guys never fought.
No, because I will say something and he will say something because always I have proofs that online. I want to fight and he just talk because he want to be famous and he did because he has challenged me, but all the time he flew out. One day he talked shit about me on news because I was in a lot of TV shows every Sunday. At that time, I was very, very, very famous in Brazil. I think like Anderson Silva was in Brazil, I was at my time in Brazil. Yeah, I'm not kidding. You can search.
For sure, yeah.
He said, I said to the reporter, okay, I'm going to his academy, so his gym. I grabbed my stuff and went to his gym. I have a newspaper showing a picture. And he said that, oh, no, he's not here. Then, like 2 months later, I find out that he was inside the gym, locked in the bathroom. He don't want to fight me. Then in a company that produced gloves, named it at that time Dribbly.
Okay.
The guy said, I have a video long time ago. The guy that do all this shit saying that it's true. Sergio is saying the truth. They call me and him without telling me and either without telling him because the guy thought, I'll put both together, I'll make them friends. When I get in the room, when I saw him, I run at him and say, I'm gonna kill you, motherfucker. And he went to the bathroom and locked himself and he started yelling, no, I just fight in the ring. I'm a fighter in the ring, and blah, blah, blah. And he stayed there. And the guy, the owner of the Dribbly, said to me, oh, you are fucking motherfucker crazy. I say, yeah, I am. Because this guy is a piece of shit. That is the story. Never happened because he doesn't want to fight. Now I have nothing against him. If I see him, I shake his hand and everything. He's doing a great job for the kickboxing in Brazil, so. But that is the story.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has a history. That is just what took place then. Right. Frederico Lapenda, you guys partnered for WVC 1 through 4. Were you only the referee or were you partners for that?
No, at WVC 1, I was only the referee. Then I saw it in Japan. I said, "Boy, this is great and good. I can bring it to Brazil because I have the contacts with TV because I am my self
who you are. Yeah.
So say, okay, let's be partner." And then I brought the show to Brazil. And we end part, I think, until WVC 5, I think, not 4. I think, I don't remember now. It's a long time ago. 4 or 5. Then we have a problem. I don't want to talk about the problem. people that know very close knows, because most of people that have a business with Lapenda has the same type of problem I had. Then I finish it, and I said to the TV guy, I say, hey, you can decide. You go with me or go with him. And the TV said, no, Sergio, you a guy that doing everything. We go with you. And then I start IVC. Was the best thing that happened to me. So,
Go ahead.
no, we Jewish have a saying, nothing is for the bad. Everything is for good. You just need to wait. If it didn't happen, I wouldn't have my show. So,
Okay, so he starts in Japan. How does he start there rather than from his native country of Brazil?
I have no idea, because when I get in on the boat was already sailing to Japan. I think because he got I think the name was Mr. Honda, something like that. The guy that was paying everything, they did one show no more. So,
Okay,
same kind of problem.
fair enough. August 14th, 1996, WVC Japan. You guys had an 8-man tournament. You were the referee.
Yeah.
Red Herd had a historic performance, winning an 8-man tournament. But on the undercard, you had Marco Ruas and Steve Jenna.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great. 2 former UFC fighters.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, both UFC champions, tournament champions.
Yeah, but that was an easy job for Marco Ruas. Marco Ruas was one of the greats. I think UFC should to put more value in Marco Ruas. They don't say nothing about it. He must be in the Hall of Fame. It must be celebrated. He changed the whole game in MMA history, because he started showing that who knows how to punch, how to kick, can be a champion. You remember the stomps on the big guy? So,
yeah, Paul Verlins.
Yeah.
Marco Ruas and Rickson always had a pretty big rivalry.
Yeah.
And Ruas,
but a lot of respect between them. The rivalry, but respect, believe me. Both sides. I know both sides.
okay. Because in terms of overall like output of performance, there's a big difference of competition between Ruas and Rickson. And I was always surprised that they just weren't ever able to meet.
Both of them, yes. In person, yes. But when they met, they talk. That's what I'm saying, a lot of respect. There is a lot of legendary things in Brazil that is not true. I don't want to get in details, but there is a lot of bullshit flying around, even those days.
Okay. But that also sells a fight. So it's kind of, you see 2 guys on stage arguing, talking about their upcoming fight. They go backstage and they shake hands and they say thank you.
Yeah. In Brazil, it doesn't work so nice. Brazilian people doesn't like the cocky guys like that. In America, it's perfect. In Brazil, no. In Brazil, they like the humble guy. That's why Anderson Silva in Brazil was so nice. People loved Anderson because all the time Anderson Silva is so humble. That is the way Brazilians like the guys, and they hate Sonic.
Yeah. Oliveira, also very humble, very shake hands of the corner, all of that. Yeah.
The Brazilian way to do things.
Hey, but you guys are very passionate people, though. Very passionate.
Yeah.
You love hard, you hate hard.
Yeah, the extremes. Never in between. Or you are cold or you are hot. Not in the middle.
Oleg Taktarov also fought Joe Charles. That's another underappreciated legend in Oleg Taktarov.
I agree with you. I agree. And he fought in Brazil. I was the referee facing Marco Ruas. Marco Ruas almost broke his leg with a lot of kicks. He has like a, I don't know if you saw the fight, like a tennis ball in his leg. So it was a great fight. He was a great warrior. All my respect.
So you coming from your kickboxing background, did you and Ruas ever spar?
No, because he used to live in Rio. He's younger than me. When he's fighting, I already stopped fighting. Because when I start being referee, I stop fighting.
That's smart. That's smart. Your trip to Japan, you also became the representative for Pride later on. Is this where you made your contacts?
Yeah, it was like that. The IVC, I start IVC bringing always 8-man tournament for American, for Brazilian. And I was the referee because I want a fair fight. Doesn't matter who is winning. There's an American, Japanese, Brazilian, doesn't matter. For me, the important thing was the show, the name, the brand. So I got a lot of respect. Then when Japanese came, Koichi Kawasaki, you made that.
Of course.
And we are talking, and he start asking me, "Oh, can I bring the winner to Japan?" Then I brought Wanderlei Silva, and I was starting in Japan talking. When I was there, I said, "I would do like this, and I would do like that," and the Japanese start paying attention on what I'm saying. Then, few events further, the K1 came to me. And the K1 made me a financial offer that I couldn't say no. So I stopped producing the IVC and start doing things for K1. Like I was the K1 MMA World Vice President. So I calling the shots, the rules, and everything. So I was the guy that brought Mirko Cro Cop from kickboxing to MMA. To Bob Sapp, all the big guys I brought. And so I was there for like 2 years, running everything and calling the shots. I was big at that time. You can search on me. And helping Pride on the backstage. I was a K1 guy. And I was very happy. And I make a lot of money. And I spend all the money.
That's good. That's part of me. You enjoy spending what you make. So that's the way I look. Absolutely. Absolutely. So at WVC2 was November of 96. Pedro Rizzo won the 8-man tournament. How would you describe the relationship between Pedro Rizzo and Marco Ruas?
Son and father. Son
Wow.
and yeah. Still today, they are very close. And I respect that.
When we interviewed Pedro, he was like 16 or 17 when he just showed up at Marco's gym. And what he described, it was almost as if the police should have gotten involved, but Pedro kept showing up there, and Pedro kept showing up. Yeah,
that's it.
And with Ruas and Taktarov, with the draw, they fought obviously 30 minutes. I think it was actually 20 minutes for a draw.
30 minutes.
It was 30 for the W. Okay. And 12 days later, Oleg Taktarov fights Renzo Gracie. That's pretty shocking.
Yeah. And his leg was very, very bad. So.
His hand, too.
Yeah. But Renzo won the fight, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the up kick.
Renzo is great. He was great. But it's another time. In 1993, if you allow me to say something.
Please.
In 1993, in my gym, when it started, UFC and K1, they started almost at the same time. And I was watching the UFC. I was invited from Carlson Gracie. The brother, the founder of
Horion,
to take part on the UFC. UFC's 2. Yeah. But I didn't agree because they wanted me to use, like the boxing guy used the glove. You remember the IVC, the
Yeah,
UFC?
Art Jimmerson. I got his last interview. Yes.
I said, no, not at all. That's why I refused, but I was invited. And then I got a call from Helio Gracie himself, and he said, I indicate your name, you should go. I said, no, I should go if I feel comfortable. How you fight against a grappler using a boxing glove? There is no sense for me. But I was saying to my people at the gym, I said, listen to me. In few years, people will start learning jiu-jitsu. People that is not learning jiu-jitsu, like a wrestling guy, will watching and will learn how to avoid some situation, and then the striking will be the unbalance in the game. And that's what's happened today.
Wow.
Yeah, it was in 1993. Yeah.
Well, the lessons you learned from your first fight,
Yeah.
it changed the entire way you trained. Just
Exactly.
one time. One time.
Exactly. And it changed
the world.
I think my mission in this world is about fighting, teaching, watching, because I see something and I say, well, this guy can be very good. This guy not. Like Wanderlei Silva, who find out Wanderlei, he lost to Artur Mariano, right? If he's another guy, we will focus on Artur Mariano and left Wanderlei aside, and not me. So this is the guy. So Artur stopped fighting, Wanderlei became a huge name in the world. So that is my thing. I looking at and I find something. It's a gift from God. Thank you,
Yeah.
God.
Finding talent. Yeah. How old was Wanderlei when you met him?
How old?
Was he young? He was.
No, it's very young, like 20-something, 21, 22.
And you knew right then and there he was special.
Ah, yes. I have this kind of gift. I say, this guy has, like the movie, Eye of the Tiger, because you can be teaching. So, but if you don't have the fighting heart, I can teach you whatever, but you'll not be the guy. You need to be born for it, like Anderson Silva, José Aldo, Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira fought in my show in Brazil, my boxing show. There is a fight of him in YouTube. He's unbelievable. You see, and oh, this guy is good.
His brother too. His brother's very tough.
Yeah. Yeah, Brazilians are good in fighting. Doesn't matter what fight it is.
Yeah.
So about IVC, I want to bring back all this real thing, because let me phrase again, it's not same thing as MMA, different sport. In Brazil, we have a commission of MMA, we have a commission for Vale Tudo. It's because it's different. You understand?
Wow. No, of course. Yeah, of course. At WVC, you had the two tournament winners, Pedro Rizzo, fight Red Herd, which, yeah. I mean, it's you guys right out the gate understood how to match make.
Yeah.
You know, the two pyramids, put them together. You in order to create a champion.
Yeah, we never. Let me explain one thing. I talked to Lapenda when we was partnered together, and then myself. I never make a game to pick up fighter. I looking at and I say, I need to direct this the way that the best fighter will fight the best. That's why we had a great fights.
Okay, but that style of matchmaking does not come from traditional boxing.
No.
It comes from the world of kickboxing.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
but
it's what they've done from the beginning.
Yeah, you need to have a very good matchmaker.
Yes, especially that opening round. You got to understand where they seed and to build the drama.
You can kill a guy that could be in the final.
And hurt his stock. Absolutely. Here, let's talk about that. Fabio Gurgel, you're the referee.
Yeah.
Fabio Gurgel fights Pat Smith. And you have an issue in the ring with Pat Smith grabbing the ropes.
Yeah. And I just say to him, if you do once more, are you disqualified? And look in the eye, and they know. Mark Coleman know. I have a problem with Coleman. I have a problem with everybody. Because if I say I will, I will. Like I did with another fighter in another tournament. I say, I will disqualify you. The guy grab it, fight's over. That's why people respect me a lot. Because Pat Smith was trying to do everything. He knew that when he goes down to the floor, the fight is over.
So Pat Smith was grabbing the rope to keep himself up and then dropping 12 to 6 elbows.
Exactly.
On the back, trying to get the neck of Fabio Gurgel.
Yeah.
And an audience member ran up over the barricade in order to kind of
complain.
Was it a complaint or was it?
No, complain. Because everybody at that room was with Gurgel.
In your color commentary, John Perretti was the commentary guy there.
Yeah.
Do you remember John?
Yeah, I brought him one time to see Wanderlei fighting, and then he fell in love with Wanderlei in northeast of Brazil when Wanderlei fought the Wolf. I forgot the first name. You remember the guy has a nickname Wolf?
I'm sure I have it in my notes somewhere.
Yeah.
I first Joel de Oliveira?
No. He's an American guy.
It's an American. Well, you
was a super fight. Then the fight fought on UFC. I forgot the name.
Would have been Eugene
Jackson.
Yeah.
Eugene the Wolf Jackson.
The Wolf, yeah.
Yeah, I pay everything to Perretti to come to see the fight. I pay plane, hotel, food, and everything. And he loved Brazil, and he loved Wanderlei. And I put Wanderlei in the UFC. So I was all the time thinking, not put money in my pocket. I was thinking ahead, you know what I mean? How it will go to develop.
For the sport.
Yeah, then the new UFC guys, the Fertitta brothers, one of them, not the brothers, but one of the executives came to me and said, hey, we want to buy your library. I said, okay, no problem. Show me the money. And then we did a deal, and you can see the IVC on UFC Fight Pass.
Yeah, fantastic.
And that's why you can see the IVC fights on YouTube, because they take off. They take out. If you put a fight, but I sold the library only, not the name. They want to buy the name and say, no, the name is mine. I will not sold to you.
Was it Crowley Sullivan that you dealt with at the UFC Fight Pass?
No, he's now, I think he's with Glory. Marshall.
Okay. Fair enough.
A friend of me.
So Mark Kerr also fought Sidney Goncalves that you also had an issue with. Like, it was kind of a crazy event with things happening. Like, you were definitely tested as a referee.
Yeah, because when you have just a few rules, it's hard to control. So I have a problem with Gary Goodrich reaching the balls of the Pedro. You remember that?
Yeah, I've got that in my notes. Yes, of course.
IVC 1. So I said, if I said is not permitted, I didn't say so. It's I cannot change the rules inside the ring. I said to everybody, I say, I'm not stopping. And the Pedro was yelling at me, Sergio, he's grabbing my balls. He's grabbing my balls. Yeah, during the fight. And I said to him, Pedro, I didn't say that it's prohibited, so he will grab your balls. after the fight, then I create a Big Daddy rule that is prohibited to grab the balls.
So, Big
During the
Daddy,
fight, I not made one new rules during the event. You know what I mean?
you can't. No, you can't. That's not right.
That's the right thing to. That's why all America, Japanese, wherever, they trust in me when I say, "Is this? Is this?" I don't care if the crowd come and kill me. I don't care. But I will make what I say. It's the right thing.
So, Big Daddy Goodrich, in our interview with him, he said, "Well, I was making peanut butter."
Yeah. Yeah. There is
And
image. If you search on internet, there is a close-up. He put the foot, he put the hand, because he won that fight just because it. If not, the Pedro would finalize him. That's the truth.
he said he looked at you, and in English, he said, "It's not against the rules. It's not against the rules."
That's
So
it.
you're in Brazil, you're fighting a hometown guy, you come in as a B-side, and you've got the promoter saying, "It doesn't break the rules, man. Keep going. It's as fair as you're going to get."
But it's fair, right?
It's fair.
That's it. I'm a fair guy. That's why. I think you will find no one like me. No one. But then then everybody started to respect me, because there is a moment in Mark Coleman and Fabio Gurgel in the fight that the crowd tried to come to the ring, and I stopped the fight and get the microphone. And I say, if you come closer, I will stop the fight and give you the winning to Mark Kerr. Then everybody back up, because they knew that I would do it. So the way to control the crowd is like that. You control
Respect.
the fight. Yeah.
It's true.
It's fun. It's true.
And especially like you had said, or we had agreed on, Brazilians they love hard and they hate hard.
Yeah.
So if you are firm, you can cause a riot.
That's it.
It's true.
That's it. Yeah. Like the first UFC in Brazil, I was the promoter. I don't know if you know that.
1998. Yes.
Vitor Belfort and Wanderlei Silva.
Of course.
Same thing. The Bob Myrowitz, the first owner, he said to me, "No, we need the security." I said, "No, we don't need security. I can control the crowd. Don't worry about the crowd." And I did it. Because you need to control the fight. The people is in the arena to see the fight, right? If you stop the fight and fuck their favorite fighter, you kill them. So everybody was talking like that. And Sergio is crazy. Be careful. Like when I was K1 vice president, all the fighters say that. Peter Art, everybody knows. Sergio is crazy. Don't do what he don't want you to do. Do whatever he say to do. Then the rules was go step by step. That is my way.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So Pedro Goncalves kept fleeing the ring, and in order to get stand-ups, you disqualify him.
That's it.
And Fabio Gurgel fights Mark Kerr. So the interesting thing about this fight is if you go from the Pride Grand Prix 2000 all the way down, I think if you add up all of Mark Kerr's fight time, it doesn't equal how long Fabio Gurgel was in the ring with him that night.
Yeah, yeah. No, I have no words to describe how warrior, how honor Fabio Gurgel has. It's unbelievable. And you know what I have to do? Few people knows that. When he was stuck in the corner and Kerr is mashing him, all his team was around and talking. And I start because I was seeing that, I say, this guy will get killed. But I will not stop. He don't want to stop. He signed a contract that it can happen. And then I start talking to his team. I say, hey, you want him fight going? If you pay attention on the video, you see I'm talking with the people. You get killed and he will not tap. He's a warrior. That is your fucking decision. Throw the fucking towel. Stop the fight. so he can fight again. If you don't do it, he will not fight again. And then they decided to stop the fight. That was almost like with Wanderlei. With Wanderlei Silva and Artur Mariano, if you want to talk about this later, because the cut was a big problem too. I can talk. But with Gurgel and Mark Kerr was that. Gurgel would die, but he would never step out. Never.
And I mean, this is the conversation that I've had online. Winston Wolf is another poster on mixedmartialarts.com. Essentially, Gurgel, it is not about money, it's about pride.
Exactly.
And very stubborn.
It's very stubborn because it's the owner. It's the real martial arts spirit. People doesn't understand it. Just few people has it. Like I did with Zulu. I say, you kill me, but I will not tap. People when I give me my money and that's it. Not with me, not with Gurgel.
Wow. Yeah, underappreciated. And may I ask, he got pounded on Mark Kerr for almost 30 minutes.
You know that he went straight to the hospital, right?
I have to assume.
No, he stayed in the hospital, I think, 3 or 5 days. He was
oh my gosh.
Yeah, he was in very bad condition.
Can you imagine working in the hospital? He comes in, car accident, kicked, thrown by a horse. What happened? And they just show you a picture of Mark Kerr. Yeah, this is what happened. Yes.
Yeah, it's like that.
Fuck.
It's like that.
What did Fabio get paid that night? Do you remember?
No, because that fight, some fights is with it was with
Frederico
in the fighter, and I didn't care. I said, okay,
never enough. It's never enough.
No, but I don't know. They become friends. Gurgel is the only one that had business with Lapenda and is still friend of him.
Wow.
If you look someone and you knew someone, you tell me, because I don't know nobody all over the world that has real business and is still friends with him. I don't know nobody.
From what I understand, Frederico is the head of tourism for Brazil. I know he lives in California, and he's heavily involved with the Brazilian top team still, like expanding their gyms.
I didn't know that.
You know what? That is what I was told. I don't know if it's true or not.
He's involved with a movie. He want to be a movie producer. So.
Yeah, I don't know. When Pele fought Joel de Oliveira, it is a famous fight because Joel goes the first time. When he goes up a weight class, he's studying to be a lawyer, and it's the 98 headbutt fight.
Yeah.
You are the referee.
Yeah. Great, huh? I love headbutt. People think I'm crazy, but I love it. You know, at that fight, you can smell the blood like 30, 40 feet away from the ring. It's
Joe Hill said that. In our interview with Joe Hill, he said the same thing. He's like, you could smell it. It was the iron in the air.
Yeah, it's true.
So you having the best view of that fight, how concerned were you for Pele?
No, because he was okay. Let me put this way. Let me do one comma. When you look blood, people used to go, but it's better if you bleed outside than you bleed inside. Long time ago, I had a problem with Brazilian, how they call, congressmen in São Paulo. The Congress people in São Paulo, they want to prohibit it, Vale Tudo. Then there is a hearing. One neurosurgeon and a lot of politicians and me. I went there, and I took Carlos Barreto with me as a fighter. I said, come with me, let's prove that you are okay. You are not dying because of these things. Then the guy that was trying to pass the bill to prohibit it, they start talking. Oh, this is violent, it's dangerous. And when it's come to my time, I say, okay, let me say, you mean if somebody dies, you need to stop the sport, you need to stop Formula One, you need to stop running, because few days before that, there is a marathon in São Paulo, a guy had a heart attack and fell down dead, cold. And I say, you need to stop running. You need to stop capoeira, guy died. You need to stop karate. You need to stop
Boxing.
everything.
Boxing?
Yeah. You stop. And then I say, you know why I demand no gloves and no wraps? And the guy said, no. I say, because without wraps, you can break your hand. The bone of head is the hardest bone in your body to protect your brain. So you punch one, you broke your hand. You don't punch anymore the brain. You punch the body. You can see the Vale Tudo, they slap the elbow, but never punch because hurts your hand. And I said, you know why boxing use wraps and gloves? I said, no. I said, because they want to protect the hands, not the head. Because back then in England, they broke the hand to fight stop it.
They were more important about protecting the hand in order to hurt the head. Man.
That's it. That is the real thing. And then I said, the only thing that helps to protect the brain is the mouthpiece. You know that? The mouthpiece wasn't created for the teeth, was created for absorb the impact and don't transmit to the brain. And then the guy was looking at me. I say, it's safer if I punch you because I punch you once, hurt my hand, and I not punch again. And if I punch, it's bleeding here, not inside. Then I gave you an example. You get a pillow, right? A pillow, and ask your teenager son to hit your head with the pillow. You'll be dizzy, right? Because it's a big area that hits your head and your brain do like this. It's the same effect. It's the same effect with the glove. So make the story short. The neurosurgeon say Sergio is correct. He's perfect. If you stop and prohibit this sport, you need to prohibit everything. So they passed the law. Thanks me and thanks God. This is a recognized sport in Brazil. Then I created the Vale Tudo Confederation. I was the man that created. I get recognized as a sport. Kung Fu in Brazil, kickboxing, and Vale Tudo. Sorry to talk about myself, but
no, that's why we're here. That's why we're here, brother. I mean,
nobody knows about that.
No, we're a history podcast. I have taken a very, very small portion of your career, and it's very profound and very deep. And just like what I don't want to do is take your entire career and have little tiny sentences of things that are so important to where we just go, okay, yeah, okay. No. We're going to settle in and we're going to talk about it. That's incredibly important. After this event, you and Frederico split. When did you know it was time to go on your own?
About the Vale Tudo things?
When you split from WVC to start your own. Because if you look...
Okay, let you try to explain without say. When my last show with Lapenda finished, I
can tell you what, it was 4 because it's March 16th, 1997, and your first IVC show, July 6th, 1997. Okay. So it's a very few months.
Yeah. So when finished the show, was the highest audience on the hotel, higher price, a lot of sponsors. I said, we make a lot of money. Then the next day, I went to the hotel. There is nobody in the hotel. He, he flew to his state. That was at that day. At that day, I created IVC. I said, okay, I'm doing my show. At that day.
So it wasn't before.
No, I get screwed. I said, motherfucker.
What I really liked about the IVC is in real time, stop the fight, keep your position. The doctor would come look at the cuts and go, okay, continue. So it wasn't up to the referee to reposition. It wasn't for the fighters to apply different pressure. It was all like self-contained.
Yes.
Very advanced, in my opinion.
My decision, yeah. I decide those rules because I was a fighter and I was a Vale Tudo fighter also. Nobody can say, no, you never fight this. I say, I fought like this. Exactly the same thing that you are fighting now. So if you sometimes in the IVC was Carlos Barreto was fighting. I don't know if it was 9 or 10. They are very near of the ropes. Then in order to not stop the fight, I called the doctor. You can see on the tape. And I said, doctor, take a look, take a look. They are fighting. Bah, 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 bah. You think I need to stop? Bah, bah. No, it's okay. Clean up. And okay, keep it. So I try to do it most real as possible. Real. As you
so good.
depend on that. That is the real thing. That is the thing that make IVC totally different than whatever you say. Even if you have like WVC. WVC was not like IVC. IVC was only me. So I decide everything. And that people love it. And when people see now,
I love it.
They say, oh, this is the real thing. That's it.
So your IVC kickoff, July 6, 1997. We had already talked about it. Gary Goodrich versus the Pedro Octavio with the nut grab. That is an incredible entrance into, what your new company is.
Don Severn and Ebenezer Braga. So it was a great fight, a super fight.
Ebenezer Braga, him and Gurgel, they're the same kind, just mean. Exactly. They're mean.
He lives in Miami now.
Braga lives in Miami?
Yeah, like a 15 years. Like a 15 years or more. Yes.
So he's got to speak English then.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Search his Facebook, and then you talk to him. But he lives in Miami. I think he's a pastor, something like that.
He's a
yeah. He was at that time.
Wow.
His father is a pastor.
At IVC2, September 15th, 1997, Wanderlei Silva fought Sean Bourmet.
This is funny. You know why? When I brought Sean Bourmet and the brothers, I forgot the name that the guys from wrestling. They are good, right?
Rico Chiapparelli, he was Team Rob.
Yeah, Chiapparelli brothers. They came and they think, okay, we will beat everybody, we'll get the money. Because at that time, I paid better than UFC, believe you or not. And I give the money before the fight. You know that?
You paid before the fight?
Yeah. I said, everybody, in the morning of the fight, everybody give the weight. And the morning of the fight, I call everybody. And I say, here is your money, sign, here's your money. And I said to everyone, each one, I said, you can get this money and fly away and don't fight. But you get screwed all your life. But you can fight your best, you can lose, and I can bring you again. Just showing that I trust in you. So here is the fucking money. So everybody got until my last event, all my boxing shows, everything I pay before. Everything I do, I pay before, not after that. In cash, not bank transfer, cash here. That's why I work it. So they loved me. So again, about the Bournet. He was a wrestler and this and that and then Wanderlei Silva just kicked the shit out of him. grabs me like a child. He sleep.
Yeah, he was out. He was out.
Yeah. I'm laughing because it's funny. I love it. I love it. I saw all the time.
So,
and then they brought me more fighters. Then they brought
the rumor, before we move on this, the rumor was that Wanderlei saw Bourmet in a bar the night before and cornered him about an all or nothing fight for the money.
No, Wanderlei did this with everybody. He did this with next door with Mike Van Arsdale. If you want, I can talk now.
Yeah, go ahead, brother. Yeah.
No, because Wanderlei was not a joke. He's for real. He's a crazy guy for real. In Japan, he tried to beat guys at the breakfast. One time I said to him, Wanderlei, you need to fight for money. You cannot fight for free. Wait until the ring. You get the money. But he was crazy. He was like a pit bull in a leash. You release the leash, so. So when I did Chuck Liddell in Pelé was IVC 7, if I'm not wrong. Chuck Liddell in Pelé, Ebenezer Braga and a guy from Mark Coleman. I forgot.
Brandon Henkel.
Ebenezer choked him with the rope of the ring. Remember that?
Yes, of course. Yes.
With leg and everything. And Wanderlei, Mike Van Arsdale. Mike Van Arsdale, a former wrestling world champion, UFC fighter. And
Olympic ladder. Yeah.
So Wanderlei and his trainer come to me and say, Sergio, we want to do a proposal. I say, okay. Who wins the fight, get all the money. The loser, get nothing. I say, okay, but I need to ask Van Arsdale, please. And I went there. And I say, Mike and Mark Coleman. Say, hey, guys, I have a proposal to you. Wanderlei and his team is proposing who won the fight gets all the money, the loser get nothing. The eyes of Van Arsdale do like this. He lost the fight right away. I said the guy lost the fight because Wanderlei get in his mind. And then, no, I have a child. I need to bring money to my home. I said, fuck. If he's smart and crazy like me, I say, okay, let's do it. Then I say no. But at that time, you cannot lose the confidence. And Wanderlei did it with everybody. He did it with Mirko Cro Cop in Tokyo. I have a great story from Tokyo, from K1. And
go ahead. We're here.
I don't know if you want to keep a pace.
No, wow. No, here's the thing, brother. Your career it's crazy, bro. Well, there's so much good shit. It's Mirko Cro Cop Japan. Please.
No, the Mr. Ishii, the founder and creator of K1, we are friends until now, very good friends. He trusts me a lot. And then he said to me, let's go to California. I will bring a kickboxing fighter with me, K1 fighter, Mirko Cro Cop. At that time, Mirko was a top fighter in K1. He's like second level. He never won. He lost all the time to the black guy from Holland. I forgot the name.
Ernesto Hoost.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine. I'm getting old, man. Sorry.
It's okay.
And we went to a gym in New York, in Los Angeles. And I met Mirko in person first time. And Mr. Ishii called me and said, Sergio, you think you can do him an MMA fighter? I said, the way this motherfucker kicks, if he's not a chicken, we need to see if he has a chicken bone. He can be a great fighter. And then we started work. I asked him, hey, you are chicken heart? But just a little bit. He's weak mind. Mirko has a weak mind, like Vitor Belfort has a weak mind. Vitor Belfort and Mirko are a fighter like this. If they smell blood in the water, they kill you. You cannot handle them. But if the fight goes like 1, 2, 3 minutes and they can't put their games, the fight's lost. You can watch the fights. Look all the fights of those guys because it's mind. Fight is a fucking mind game. And then we start training him. And I said, because I used to do this kind of job in K1, create a strategy for the fighters. So I hired some guy. I have André Pederneiras in Japan train with me, training the team K1
Legend.
to fight against Pride fighters. And I have my good friend that died. We are kind of partners. Marco Jara, you remember that name?
Yes.
So he was my jiu-jitsu guy. For the MMA, for me, he was the best jiu-jitsu trainer for MMA and Vale Tudo. Great guy. So we start training Mirko, and I said to Mr. Ishi, I say, he will be the #1 MMA fighter in the world. And he was one time. Then he lost to Tauro. Yeah, he was. Then he lost to Tauro. And I cannot say why, but because Mirko tried to screw me sometime with the all things is involved money. It's not fair. I say, you think you are the best? I went to he fought in Pride, Mirko and Minotauro. No Minotauro, Minotauro. And I was there in ringside. You can see me. If you get the tape from Fuji TV, you see me walking and going to Minotauro's corner, talk to his trainer. Then I come back. Then Minotauro finish him. Mirko was winning the fight. Finish the round. I went there, said, do this and this and that. Then to the trainer. The TV showed it. And then I go down and I was like standing. And then Minotauro finished him. Then Minotauro came to me and shake my hand and say, thank you. Then he knew. So I have a lot of kind of those stories, and I have another story with a big guy. I don't know if you remember Montanha Silva from Brazil. He's a huge guy. Bob Sapa was afraid with him. The guy that beat
So Bigfoot.
No Bigfoot. Montanha Silva. You search.
Okay. Go ahead.
He fought K1. And then he dropped the Japanese and he started punching the Japanese on the ground. Kickboxing is a K1 fight, not MMA. And then the referee came and the referee, everybody comes. The fight is on YouTube. Is Montanha Silva, Montanha, Monha, Montanha Silva against the Japanese. I forgot the name. The best Japanese heavyweight at that time. I will remember the name. Yamaha. And
I'm not going to get it. Yeah, I'm not going to get it. Okay, go ahead.
I went to the ring, and it was Team Bob Sapp against teams this Japanese. I forgot his name. And Bob Sapp was afraid to get close to the Montanha because he started. And then I come to the ring, hold like this. He's in the corner. I hold my arms here. And I said to him, what the fuck, in Portuguese, what the fuck you are doing, Montanha? He said, Tio Bata. He called me Uncle Bata. He said, Tio Bata, I lost my lens. He used fucking lens. I didn't know that. And I couldn't see nothing. So I gave my show. I'm just acting. Don't worry.
Is it Nakasako?
No.
Is it okay? So it's not Yoshi Nakasako. Yeah, I'm not good with stuff like that. With anything K1, I'm just not good. Yeah.
Then I think to myself, because he wasn't a fighter. Montanha Silva was a bouncer at whorehouse. But he was big. I say to Japanese love this kind. I say to them that there is this guy, I can teach him. We can make it, and he was a big name in Japan. Big name, Montanha Silva. And I thought that I'm screwed. Yakuza will kill me. The guy will kill me. Because he's the Japanese favorite of the public, of the K1, of the pride. Everybody loves this guy. And then I say to him and his trainer, I say, hey, if I don't come back, you get the plane and go to Brazil and forget you know me. Then we was walking at Saitama Arena. And after one wall, there was Mr. Ishii. And he called me. I said, I'm fuck it now. And he called me and just said to me, Sergio, you are a genius. He thought that I planned all those shit to make Montanha famous. And I got a bonus. And I got a bonus.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's incredible. Well, let's talk about pressure.
Okay.
You've got the IVC, kind of an outlaw organization. On September 27th, 1997, Pentagon Combat has an event with Eugenio Tadao versus Renzo Gracie, and there's a very bad riot.
Yeah,
and it makes
shots, gun, and everything. I have nothing to do. It was in Rio. I live in São Paulo. I didn't go. Nothing to do with it. Because, as I told you, in order to you have a big rivalry between teams, you need to know what to do to control the crowd. And they didn't. That is the point. And
the turning off of the lights, all of that. But did you get pressure from that to cancel your events?
No, because people trust me, as I said to you. Everybody that I go, I give the technical explanation, like the hands, the glove, why no gloves, why this, why that. So they can, in the end, they agree with me, say yes. So I built up a very good reputation in Brazil at that time. Until now, I have a good reputation. I think I have.
Walid Ishmael fought Yohil de Oliveira. Was it difficult getting Carlson Gracie guys to fight for you?
No, they would love it to fight for me. For me only. I have all the Valide fought for me, Carlon Barreto fought for me, other guys. Because I was fair. Carlson, Sergio is a fair guy. Not to him, not to another. It's like Valide. He fought Joel with wrestling shoes. And I have a rule. If you wear wrestling shoes, you cannot kick. Because I was a kickboxer. You can kill a guy with wearing a wrestling, because you're not hurting your feet. So I say, no way you kicking. And he said, okay. Inside the ring, when he's doing something right, I just say, hey, Valide, I will disqualify you. He stopped and said, because they knew that I will. Carlson, just say to the people, one rule, nobody can touch the apron of the ring. Nobody. No trainer, nobody. I don't want nobody touch keep away from the ring. Somebody told us, I just come and say, I will disqualify your fighter. Then Carlson was yelling with her, but don't touch there. Batarelli will disqualify the guy. Don't touch there. Get away. So you need to give an example once. That's it. Then it works.
Well, to kind of help our listener understand, there were certain events where the corners would pull their fighter out of the ring in order to get a stand-up.
Yeah. No, but with me, never happened.
No.
The guy fall by his own. Sometimes the corner yellow. Fall. Then I can do nothing. It's part of the game. You understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, of course. Of course. Um, how would you describe the luta livre and jiu-jitsu rivalry back then?
Was great. The luta livre is great. I can understand why they stopped bringing luta livre fighters for the shows, because at my time I discovered a lot of great fighters. But when I stop IVC, it looks like they stopped bringing luta livre fighters. But they are great. Yeah, for me, for the MMA things, they are like this. Jiu-Jitsu and luta livre are very, very balanced. Like we have a Hugo Duarte now in Texas working with Renzo. So Renzo, you not put a guy from luta livre if he doesn't believe the guy, right? This is the biggest proof of that. I like luta livre.
How was their rivalry? Was there a lot of violence?
Oh, big. No, but no, at one point, at least not in my shows, because they knew me and they like money. The only team, the only team at that time, they were crazy and don't care too much about money was the shootbox.
Shootbox, yeah.
That was hard to handle, but I handle. Because I don't go to, the thing is, you don't go to the crowd. You go to the head. Who is the head? Come the head and say, let's talk. You need to control your people. If not, I'm not bringing you anymore, and I'll disqualify your fighter. So the head control the people. You know, you cannot go and fight against the crowd. I'm not Superman. But I had a lot of problems. In the fight of Wanderlei and Artur Mariano, they don't want the doctors to stop the fight. It was hard. Because in my personal opinion, Wanderlei won that fight. But he was giving headbutts with his forehead. He cut himself. Not Artur cut him. He cut himself, if you look at the tape. And he never stopped. So here goes down, and I can see the bone. I could see the bone. And I said, and the doctor said, we need to stop the fight. The doctor tried to stop the fight 2 times before that. But I said, no, let's go a little bit more, because he was not seeing the bone. No, because he was winning. He was getting his first defeat, so could be unfair. I tried to be fair. Okay. But when I saw the bone, I said, no more. And then I say to the corner, I say, no more, no more, no more. And then Pelé started yelling at me, you motherfucker, this is a shoot the box, motherfucker. And I said, no more fight is over. And then I talked to Wanderlei in the center of the ring. You can see on the tape. I said to him, Wanderlei, I want to give you back to your family the way you are here, not blind of an eye. So you can heal and you can fight again. If I let the fight go, probably you win the fight. But you lost an eye. It's not worth that. And then he taps my leg. You can see he tapping my leg saying, I understand. And then his career goes on. So that was my role in that game. See and protect the integrity of the fighter.
Somebody like Wanderlei, his first loss, I have to imagine, very difficult for him to come to grips with it mentally.
Yeah, it's very difficult. But I loved him. He is a real warrior. He is a real. If you put him to fight now, he will fight for his life.
Oh, yeah.
Because this heart never change. Will be the same for the entire life.
Did you ever deal with Paquetá, the famous videographer for jiu-jitsu?
No, Paquetá, no.
Paquetá. He didn't have the same love for MMA or NHB.
Oh, yeah, but he live but his love is more for jiu-jitsu. He live in Rio, so I never met him in person.
When Bob Schreiber, Pride Grand Prix 2000, January 30th, 2000, he fought Wanderlei Silva. Wanderlei's 23. Bob Schreiber's 35. Is this, you were in the corner, were you concerned about how dirty of a fighter Schreiber was?
Yeah, but I knew Wanderlei, so it doesn't matter. If he will be dirty, Wanderlei will be dirty. Will be you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With Wanderlei, I have no concern.
Your concern is for his opponent, not for him.
Yeah, and he killed the guy.
So Jujumar, Federico, and yourself cornered Wanderlei. Bob Schreiber, I want to say this delicately, but I'm going to be very direct. He cornered that night Hans Nijman. Hans Nijman was murdered by the Dutch top. I mean, he was murdered later on.
Yeah.
A lot of the people from that Dutch side had horrific endings. They were all mafia related.
Yeah.
Did you ever get any dealings with the Dutch mafia?
No, because the fighting game is another game. We have involved. I not call names, but Russian mafia in Japan also.
Yeah,
Ringing fighter. They are nice people. You cannot screw them, but in the fighting games, they respect the fighting games.
So what I essentially tell people, when you go to a foreign country and it's a big event, you have to assume that there's some muscle behind the event.
And always has.
And you just...
In Japan also. Don't worry, in Japan also. You know the Pride history, right?
Of course.
So I don't need to say nothing. I have this gift to know how to handle, to talk to people, to be nice or to be bad. It's like a dog. They respect you or not.
Yeah.
You don't need to kill nobody, but you need to know how to present yourself. So they see in your eyes, you are ready to be friends or to die for. That's those kind of people respect your eyes. Because in your eyes, like Wanderlei and Mirko and Pride, they were back to back. There is a curtain. I don't remember which Pride was. The first time Wanderlei fought Mirko. I trained Mirko, me and Marco. When they look each other, Wanderlei look at him, he spit on the ground, Mirko drop his eyes. I look to my friend and say, we lost the fight. And that happened. But one thing I have to say, now it's over, so I can say the truth. I represent K1, right?
Of course.
K1 made the rules. So I made the rules. And I say, we need a referee because it's business. Let me freeze it. For me, it's business. It's not passion. It's business. And I say to K1, we need a referee that don't allow the fight to stay too much on the ground. We need Mirko stand up. So if the fight goes down, he give 5 seconds and put the guys stand up again. So Wanderlei will have only 5 seconds to finish him. It will not happen. And with the weight, there is a problem. They fixed the scale. And if the fight goes to the end, there is no decision. It will be a draw. Wanderlei almost killed Mirko, but the fight was declared a draw. So now you look at the Mirko's career, say draw, but he lost that fight. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it was my job. I was thinking and looking in many directions and thinking ahead. So that's why the Japan loved it. The Japanese fighting business loved it. I always had some escape. They had a problem, they call Sergio San. They call me and say, what's the problem? This. I said, okay, let me figure out. Then I was thinking, okay, let's do this way, and always work it. That's why I make a lot of money in Japan. Business-wise, guys, who is listening to this, it's business. I was working, so I was paid to find ways to my company.
Yeah, well, I think it's not something you teach in college. It's not something that you can learn from a book. You've got to cross a finish line, and sometimes you need many different angles to figure out the best one in the MMA game.
And pass through those things. Pass through.
Yes.
When you pass for the first time, it's hard. I have a lot of bad experience that I was thinking, now I'm getting shot, they will kill me. But I survived, so I was learning and learning and learning.
When Vitor Belfort lost to Sakuraba, he claimed that he was drugged.
Bullshit. Bullshit.
Yeah.
For me, bullshit. Everybody that lost finds some way to give an excuse. I don't believe that.
Yeah, you put Ebenezer Braga against Sakuraba as his next opponent. I believe, in my opinion, that's when I knew Sakuraba was real, when he beat Braga. Braga's legit.
Yeah, that's it.
When Braga fought Randleman, Braga's corner kept pulling him out in order to get a restart. Mark Coleman threatened to fight the entire section of audience that night. How do you deal with that?
No, I wasn't there. It's not my show. It's I forgot the name of the show. Wasn't me.
I thought you were the referee.
No.
You were not the referee.
Random or no? I never referee.
Okay.
But if it was, let me explain. I had one problem with Coleman in my show. But not this random one. Let me...
Hinkle. It was Eric Smith, Hinkle, and Coleman in Randleman. There was only Hammerhouse guys.
No. He started yelling and he come up to the ring during the fight. I stopped the fight. I just go, there is a picture. I'm yelling with it like this. I just say to him, hey, Mark, I will expel you from the gym. You go to the street. I'm not allowing you to be here. If you open your fucking mouth again, you sit down. And all the audience at the hotel was quiet. Everybody listened to me. And they say, ah. And then Mark sit down and stay there. And we are great friends until tonight. Until today. We are friends. But that's my job. I say, and if I need, I say, hey, guys, grab him and put him out.
It was Nick Nutter.
Yeah.
It was a Nick Nutter fight. Yes. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I got that. I would have.
You studied to talk to me, huh?
I have to. Every interview. I do color commentary for live mixed martial arts events. So I always try to work in history in regards to when it's applicable into the fights. To me, that's very important, man. It's very important.
Very good. Very good.
I appreciate that. Edson Carvalho, Marco Ruas, Walid Ismail. They had a fight. They had a pretty bad argument, but it was never described what took place. Do you remember?
Yeah, but it's just like Walid. Walid likes to do a noise to call attention.
Okay.
It's just talking. Shit talking, like McGregor, same thing.
Okay. Francisco Bueno, and we're going to wrap up. I've had you for a while, and I apologize, almost 2 hours. Francisco Bueno fought Jason Godsey at IVC 8.
And I choked him to stop the fight.
What was that about?
Because he was so... he can listen. I say, the guy, stop it. Stop it. And I choke him, and he tapped to me. So the winner of that fight was me.
Yes. A three-way match.
I'm not joking, but it's true. You can see the
Alex Stiebling
could be a big fight. He fought in Japan, but mind. There is no mind. That was the problem.
Underappreciated. I think Francisco Bueno is a world-class talent and very good coach. Much better coach than fighter.
That's it. Because his mind, when he fought, but he make a history to be choked by me.
Yes.
He's
Yeah.
a friend. He's a friend. He's a good friend.
You also had the first recorded head stomp on one of your shows, Pele versus Jorge Pereira.
Yeah.
That was pretty wild too, man. That's
Yeah.
that's when shit got real.
I was there, and when I looked to the jump, I said, "Fuck, you killed the guy." But it was nice. I can lie to you. It was pure action. It's thrilling. All the audience was in the IVC. They don't move because they know every moment something can happen. It was great. I have this in my Instagram. Can I say my Instagram?
Oh, please. Oh, man, please, dude. That's why we're here. Yeah. Yeah.
Is at Batarelli, Batarelli.
The
All
one
those
thing,
highlights is there.
so the one thing about the IVC that I really enjoyed was sometimes the action slowed to a stop when they're grappling and on the ground. And then it's just like, boom. It's a race right away to a crazy finish. It's amazing.
Yeah, because when we have the rules meeting, I explain this is entertainment. It's a sport, but it is entertainment. So we need action. If the fight goes so slow, I will stop and restart the fight. If it goes slow again, I will stop. Now, third time, I disqualify both fighters. So that's why I was talking to them. I say, hey, are you restart the fight? Are you restart the fight? So when I was refereeing, I was conducting the fight. I was talking to them all the time. You need to give me action, give me action. And sometimes I restart. You can see, like the second fight, Pele in Joe Hill, I restart the fight a lot because Joe Hill laid down, and the audience doesn't like that. The audience like strikes. 90% of the audience like strikes. 10% like the technical.
It's the grappling. Yeah. I enjoy that.
You know that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Only who knows the technique of grappling like it. The most of people like to see knockout.
The reputation of going to Curitiba and getting head stomped, Curitiba by Chute Box, like it was almost like a soccer stadium type feel there for the love and support of their MMA team. Like you created that. You created that.
Yeah. And I did a show in Curitiba. I did one.
Yeah.
But the show I did in Curitiba was an IVC, was K1 MMA, stream live to Japan.
Fucking wild, man. Sergio Batarelli, you are underappreciated, an absolute pioneer. And I look forward to seeing you at BKFC. We got BKFC Miami coming up, and you're 100% taken care of, just so you know.
Thank you so much. I'll be there. It was a pleasure talking to you. Anytime will be a pleasure.
Dude.
IBC is coming back. Return to the roots.
I'm in. I'm in. Sergio, thank you, sir. I'll see you in Florida, buddy.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Sergio Batarelli. In terms of MMA promoters, he's top 5 living, or I'd say he's probably one of the top 5 most influential MMA promoters ever to live. That IVC tournament is something of legendary stuff. But joining us is a guy that I'm in a chat group with, kind of keeps things in check with me when I come with a loud volume. His name's Josh Campbell. Josh, what's up, brother? Thanks for coming to the wrap-up show.
What's going on, Mike? I'm really happy to be here. I'm glad you asked me to come on. Being involved with this podcast with you has been a lot of fun.
Well, here's the thing. There's a lot of information kind of going back and forth, and it's not for everybody. Like, people will listen to it, but to kind of keep up and help cross finish lines, there's not a lot of people. Like, it's like a mental illness type level of dedication to the sport. So why don't you talk about yourself in regards to your involvement in your first live MMA event?
I first became aware of the UFC in 1995. My first one I attended was UFC 14 in '97, I think. That was the one where Maurice Smith beat Mark Coleman, which was so huge. 16-year-old me just fanboying out in the stands, couldn't believe it that that was happening. But I eventually figured out that the UFC wasn't the only one putting on these fights, and I can remember, Fighting Sports Newsletter and Full Contact Fighter before the internet, or before I had the internet. And as a matter of fact, I can remember, ordering the VHS tapes from Full Contact Fighter of the IVC. So it's kind of a nice, I'm not putting down modern MMA, but there's the old school and there's the new school, and I just happen to prefer the old school.
Right. So in essence, all right, when I get little news articles and I quote them, like from Black Belt Magazine, it comes from this guy. Like, there's a mental illness with tracking down SCG era type information, and you have added to this show, depth to this show, more times than I can count.
I suppose some people would find it abnormal that I have recollections of articles from 30 years ago, and that I can dig this stuff up.
You go like microfiche, and you go to the library, get your microfiche on, and you send it over. And I remember like reading this shit, and like there's a couple instances. We got John Perretti coming on again, and where he's just like, well, I never knew that. I had no idea. And Josh sends me over like, well, here, this was an article from Black Belt Magazine 30 years ago. Here's his response that he wrote. And it's just like, I'm like, man, like, there's some problems here. There's some problems, and it's welcome. This might be the only place where people like you and I are welcome because of just, the depth that we go.
And Ferretti probably doesn't like being contradicted.
No. In fact, he has expressed to us that he's also joining the wrap-up show so he can tell us what we did wrong. He's going to be taking notes throughout the Extreme Fighting Battlecade 1 interview so he can tell us exactly what we did wrong, which I'm more than okay with, to be honest with you.
That's guaranteed to be, gold standard entertainment.
Right. So, Josh, like, you're going to be joining us occasionally, fact-checking, sitting on a computer. Dude, not a lot of people can do that job, and you kind of dabbled with it with Adrian Serrano, and I think we're going to be testing your skill out very soon.
Okay. Can I ask who we have coming up for that, or is that
no, here
to be announced?
This is we got Luke Kumo gave me a verbal. That's a cool one. Ben Saunders, we've got those two, and all right, so I'm flying to Miami tomorrow. I'm going to go to Ebenezer Braga's church, and I'm going to get Ebenezer Braga. Braga would be friggin' unbelievable.
Yeah. So he speaks English and all that?
He's been here since 2014. I mean,
he must know something.
Yeah. So we got those three. So Sergio Batarelli, your thoughts on
it? He's one of those guys that this podcast was made for, somebody from those days who is just full of stories. Some of the highlights for me, telling Rickson Gracie that he's going to make spaghetti sauce out of his blood. That's a very creative threat. I've never heard anything like that before. And the implementation of the Big Daddy rule, the no squeezing nuts rule. That's, it's a serious sport when you have to worry about that.
Right. Here we gotta, like, there's only 2 rules. We just got to write the number 3 with a pen, and right out of there. And what about Robson Gracie not paying his bills?
I didn't know anything about that. I've always heard Robson Gracie's name kind of held up with a lot of esteem by a lot of people, and it's just interesting that somebody from that era would kind of go against the grain and say, hey, he might not be what you thought he was, but who knows?
Yeah, didn't pay me.
Okay.
So
But I would be.
Batarelli, go ahead.
I was just saying, if I were Sergio, I'd be upfront about that too. I'm like, hey, the guy was a deadbeat to me.
How could you not?
Yeah,
What are you gonna lie for somebody that screwed you? You can't do that. Like,
definitely
where's your honor? Where's your honor? You know? So we got that. I'm hoping to work a deal with Sergio this weekend. I don't want to get too much into it. If things work out, those IVC guys that speak English, they're going to be regulars on here for at least a minute, kind of like Perretti's been doing with the extreme fighting guys.
Awesome. That yeah, it's nice that we have that that outlet for possible interviewees.
Yeah, absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, like, share, subscribe. Greatly appreciated. This guy right here is going to be fact checking. There's going to be no one going out of bounds from here on out. I do know. Josh, greatly appreciated, brother. And we'll probably do Kumo on Thursday.
Excellent, man. I'll be there for it.
All right, brother. Do you think?
All right. Take care.
Check out the full interview on iTunes, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms.